Well, good afternoon, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday. Uh, I seem to be having technical difficulties again. This time, operator error completely, because I thought there was a way for me to share my screen via Facebook Live, but I forgot that I have to go through another provider to do that. Um, And I don't see a way. This is such a bummer. I was going to bring up my stepson's Zoomer results. You guys might have heard of me talk about the Zoomers. The Zoomers are a, a food sensitivity test, but better. They're testing not only the immune response that your body's having towards the food, but it also tests and looks at the type of damage that's being done to your gut and to your brain. And so the test that I was going to show today was my full Zoomer bundle, which tests wheat Zoomer, corn Zoomer, dairy Zoomer, grain, and then also a neural Zoomer, right? Because have you heard the expression leaky gut, leaky brain, right? So whatever's going on, whatever's trash in your gut, it's also going to trash and happen to your brain. So for him, God, ever since I met him, he was like 15. He was 13. He was 13 when I met him. Crawling out of his skin, moody, sulky, big cystic acne, wasn't sleeping at night, had a crappy diet, and he was just struggling. And of course, once we all started living together, I'm the one that buys the food, I'm the one that prepares the food, so I switched his diet around because I knew what he was doing was not serving him. So right off the bat, took him off of wheat, took him off of dairy, got rid of soda, processed foods, and the kid did like a 180. His skin started to clear up. He was no longer crawling out of his skin. He was no longer stupid, crazy moody. He was just a completely different kid. But as he got older and he's, hanging with his mom or he's hanging with his friends, he was having a harder time kind of with the compliance that is needed for somebody who has these issues, right? So last year he went on ADHD meds to help him get through school, but it really didn't help. It didn't show up in his grades anyway. Um, and I told him at the end of the school year last year that I was going to do my darndest to figure out a more healthier alternative way to coping with his ADHD other than just putting on a prescription. Highly addictive, comes with a ton of side effects. Prescription. And so we, with the whole compliance thing, so we ran these labs on him, and sure enough, they came back 2 days ago. It showed, I might be able to just pull it up over here so I can just kind of talk about it still. But sadly, yeah, I'll have to figure out or maybe replay this. But right off the bat, it shows that he is reacting horribly. This gives me a summary. He's reacting. What was his worst reaction? His worst reaction's to corn, right? So how many people who go gluten-free, dairy-free, who substitute corn, right? I've got some Mexican in me, and that was the toughest one I had to give up, was the corn. I kind of have that one kind of going through my blood. So he's reacting really highly to corn. He's reacting very highly to oats, reacting to buckwheat, reacting to quinoa. And in his intestinal permeability, he was having a moderate reaction heading towards a high reactivity. So the squares are green, yellow, and red. And so he's at the very top end of yellow, heading into red for leaky gut at the age of 16. So let's go down here a little bit further. Wheat Zoomer score was probably one of the worst. And he's reacting to, so the funny part about it is, like a food sensitivity test, they might test for just the whole food protein. It doesn't test for all the different peptides, all the different parts of wheat, right? So Celiac disease may be a small percentage of the population, but non-celiac gluten sensitivity, wheat sensitivity is actually really, really high. Um, and I've talked about this before, to where if you've been diagnosed with any type of autoimmune disease, inflammatory disease, number one thing you need to do is cut out wheat, grains, dairy, period. Otherwise, you're not going to heal. You're not doing yourself any good by continuing to eat those foods when you have those types of inflammatory or lifestyle diseases, right? That's what they are. They're lifestyle diseases. A lot of this stuff can be reversed, but we have to be willing to put in the work and not just take a prescription, which sadly that prescription might work for a while, but it'll stop after some time, and then you're going to need another prescription, and then you're going to need another prescription for the side effects of that prescription, and it's just this slippery slope, right? So as we go down here, let me see, his first big reactivity was anti-actin, which is that's actually part of the intestinal permeability panel. So that's part of the leaky gut, and the high end of the spectrum is a 1, and he's at a 2.36. So very high there for leaky gut. Next one, we have the gliadin panel. The part that I like blowing people's brains away is when I tell them, because wheat and dairy, they're our comfort food, right? But why are they a comfort food? Do you know why? It's because each one of those contains a molecule that has morphine on the end of it. So wheat has gliadomorphine, dairy has casomorphine, and it's just like it sounds, right? So that's why like pizza and pasta are like our biggest comfort foods. They're seriously like hitting our brain in those opiate receptors, giving us that good feeling, that comfortable feeling. So he hit for the gliadomorphine high. So typically what that means is, one, he's going to show symptoms of more neurological disorders when he eats wheat. Two, it also means that folks like this have a tendency to have withdrawals when coming off of wheat, just like a drug. Crazy. He reacted to another gliadin part. It's just another part of wheat. Non-gluten wheat panel. So he's hit twice in 2 different spots in the non-gluten wheat panel. So he's actually reacting to wheat. He's reacting to wheat lectins, he's acting to gluten, and he's reacting to non-gluten wheat, part of the wheat. So this kid absolutely should be taken off of wheat for the rest of his life, sadly, because once our immune system has kind of tagged that molecule, it has a tendency to come back. And so there's collateral damage when our immune system is attacking wheat, per se, right? It's going to attack everything around it. It's just going to shoot off, a bazooka, shotgun pellets. And, not only is it going to kill the wheat, but it's going to kill things around it. So you're going to get a collateral damage type situation. And that's what contributes to the leaky gut, a lot of the leaky gut and the gut permeability as well, is because of the damage that's done by your own immune system. Let's see here. So we're going to go, this is a 75-page report, so I'm just kind of skimming off some of the good stuff. So corn has a tendency to, one, they're starting to find out that corn and rice actually have their own gluten in them. So when you see something that says gluten-free and it's rice or corn, it's actually BS, because they've got gluten in them too, and I don't know why it's allowed to be marketed that way, but it is. And the other part with corn is it has a tendency to look a lot like wheat, different parts of the protein, and so it's like got molecular mimicry going on. And so once you hit positive for that wheat, and then you also hit positive for this corn, it's the same thing with the wheat. Sadly, corn is out for good. And, really, if you look at the long scheme of things, nobody should be eating corn, right? What do we do with corn? We feed it to our cattle to fatten them up fast, right? It's a very inflammatory, very hard to digest food, if you want to call it a food. Yeah, see, corn zyme is actually one of the proteins that is considered like corn's gluten. He didn't react to that one, but he did react to the corn-wheat overlap epitopes. So that whole cross reaction there with wheat. So let's get through the corn here. Lots of different pieces of corn that he reacted to as well. Just like, you know, breaking down the wheat, there's a lot of different pieces of corn. And the funny thing too is so like, let me find something here. Yeah. So corn lipid transfer protein. These LTPs show a higher degree of cross-reactivity with peach and rice. Hence, it may cause adverse effects if the corn-sensitive individual consumes peach or rice. So, with him, so he's actually reacted fairly highly to that. So that's not gone for life. That's actually once we can heal up his gut, so it's gone for at least 90 days. And there's another one, corn endocytonase, and that's a reaction between grape and tomato. So 2 more things that are out. Those 2 as well are only for like the next 90 days. All right, let's get out of corn, and then we're headed into the grain. Oh no, the dairy zoomer. There's always been a huge correlation. Dairy is off the chart. Between cross-reactivity between dairy and wheat. I don't know why there's such a speculation or what's the word I'm looking for? Controversy. You know, it had said that in the beginning, but they said it very loosely, right? Where it should really be, no, if you're reacting to wheat, you need to cut out dairy. Like, period, end of story. Again, it's got that molecular mimicry thing going on. And, you know, regular dairy is very inflammatory, hard to digest because we've pasteurized it and we've killed the enzymes needed to digest it. That's why there's so many people who are lactose intolerant, right? So right off the bat, he's reacting to casein. He's reacting to a casein-retinol S antigen overlap, which is one of the most potent uveitis antigens. Uveitis is an inflammation of the middle layer of the eye, the uvea. It has been described that peptides from AS2 casein of cow's milk could cross-react with the eye due to their similarities in amino acid sequences. So this is the other fascinating part. So why I say a lot of times with folks with autoimmune diseases need to really look here first. One, there's another part of molecular mimicry going on. So like the thyroid tissue is actually very, very similar to wheat. So if you're reacting to wheat and you're continuing to eat wheat, that's why a lot of times people will get Hashimotos, is because their body is now turned against itself and it's attacking the thyroid like it's wheat. This is just fascinating. So same thing with this dairy. You've got your part of your eyeball that it's cross-reacting with. So if you have a problem with dairy, this problem with dairy, and you continue to consume it, and you have this overlap, it's going to attack that part of your eye. Like, how crazy is that? So yeah, lots of issues with dairy. Excuse me, I've been had a bit of a family, I don't want to say it's an emergency, but it's put us all on edge. Everybody's okay, we're alive. Somebody did get attacked, and I did have to go to court this morning. So my adrenaline has been pumping high, and now I'm crashing just in time to go live. This is so much more fascinating when you can see it instead of just taking my word for it, but I'll figure this out. I know I did it once before, but I think I had to use a different software, and I forgot how to do that. So quinoa, I reacted to quinoa as well. Quinoa has a tendency to cross-react with wheat quite a bit. So it's funny because that's touted as like one of the healthiest, highest protein grains out there, and most of these folks are actually reacting highly to it. Oats. So I was soaking oats for him with cashew yogurt, you know, and giving him that as a healthy breakfast. But for him, I mean, oats, he's reacting really high to oats. So, you know, it's a no wonder why that poor kid couldn't concentrate. It's a no wonder why that poor kid has digestive issues. It's a no wonder why the kid's skin is doing what it's doing. And it's a no wonder that he's crawling out of his skin, right? He's literally, and this has been going on for a long time, I suspect, because he's had sensory issues, according to his father, for a really long time, ever since he was a little kid. Um, so yeah, he's definitely shown symptoms. Buckwheat, you know, despite the name, it's actually not wheat, but he's reacting pretty highly to that as well. So the cool thing I did on him that I just started doing on folks, especially if they've got like neurological or ADD or, you know, type of symptoms, is running the neural zoomer as well, because I want to see, I want to see if the whole leaky gut, leaky brain thing, right? And I'm seeing it. It's right here. So where did we go? Did I pass it as I was yammering on? Um, oh, peanut buckwheat overlap. So he's going to react to peanuts as well. And again, this is all a phenomenal mindset type of thing. So many people are like, I can't live without blah, blah, blah. What do you eat? We eat so well, and our meals are so colorful and so diverse and so nutrient dense that I've said this before. My husband and my stepson, we do not feel deprived. All right, so demyelation antigens. So that's the myelin sheath that you know, runs on your brain, your brainstem. Um, demyelinating diseases are a lot like MS, right? You need that sheath there, and if it gets holes in it, that's no bueno. And so he's in the range, but so like the very first one is a 10, and the control range is 10. Moderate range is 11 to 20, and high risk is 21. So he's headed out from the green going into the yellow for demyelinating issues. Now this isn't a diagnostic type of thing. This is more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like if you don't turn things around, this is what could happen. Tested very high on the blood-brain barrier disruption, so meaning he's got a leaky brain. That whole leaky gut, he's got a leaky brain. It's right here. In control is 10, moderate range is 11 to 20, high range is over 21. He's at a 22. Optical and autonomic nervous system disorders, he's actually in range there. Peripheral neuropathy, that one he's actually right there on the fringe with as well. And he gets horrible, horrible leg pains. We thought they were growing pains for the longest time, but I'm actually starting to think that it's more of this stuff than anything else. Brain autoimmunity. There is another one. There's 2 markers in the 8 that are actually trending really high. He's on the borderline as well. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that no matter how common a symptom may be, it is never normal, right? And stop just accepting the status quo. Dig for answers, look deeper. 9 times out of 10, you'll find them. They're there. And you know where they're at? Right there in plain sight. Lifestyle. We have gotten so far off the track on what we eat, when we sleep, artificial lighting, toxins in our system, that our bodies are going haywire, and we're starting to see it more and more. Depression, anxiety, stress, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, they're all skyrocketing. And nobody, you know, well, the functional medicine folks are looking here, but, you know, a lot of other doctors aren't. And that's the sad part, is because, you know, he's already been to a doctor and all they did was give him a prescription for ADHD medication. Never once asked him how he was sleeping, never once asked him what he was eating, never once asked him about anything lifestyle. They just gave him a pill. So I am looking forward to seeing what this school year brings for him, and this new, he hasn't set a start date on when he's going to go completely. He's pretty much already grain free. He would just need to tweak some stuff over at his mom's house and like when he was out as his friends. But for the most part, he's already kind of begun. But stay tuned because I'll definitely be following up on the story because it's fascinating. Thanks.